Wyatt Earp died in Los Angeles in 1929. My dad was real friendly with Wyatt Earp, recalled John Ford's son Patrick. As a little boy, I remember him saying that the only way to be a successful marshal in those days was to carry a double-barrel 12-gauge and don't shoot until you know you can't miss. Earp would come over to the Ford Sundays and recite Hamlet with Tom Mix. Said Ford, he told me about the fight at the OK Corral, so in My Darling Clementine, we did it exactly the way it had been. In fact, Earp's stories were blarney. He invented them, both to Ford and to his biographer, Stewart N. Lake. Wyatt Earp invented himself. Ford's script was blarney too, invented with Winston Miller, who 22 years before had played the boy in Ford's Iron Horse. All we knew, said Winston Miller, was that it was about Wyatt Earp and it would end with the gunfight at the OK Corral. And from there on, we were on our own. We just made it all up. Actually, My Darling Clementine partly reworks Alan Dwan's Frontier Marshal, which Ford, but not Winston Miller, watched in preparation. Shit, Ford said, I can do better than that. But in 1945, the movie Ford started had less to do with Wyatt Earp, true or false, than with World War II, which had just ended, an abyss of horror Ford had seen and filmed firsthand. So mostly My Darling Clementine is Nightmare, Ford's blackest movie, thus the Heart of Darkness inquiries.
What kind of a town is this? What kind of a town is this, anyway? What kind of a town is this, anyways?
What kind of a person am I, John?
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Everyone's lost.
10,000 cattle gone astray.
Everyone's alone.
Mac, you ever been in love?
No, I've been a bartender all my life.
Doc seeks suicide. Except there's
the dread of something after death. The undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveler returns. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all.
the smoke makes the words come alive.
The undiscovered country.
As though portals to the undiscovered country. And look how Ford turns words into music, giving them vibrance. Listen to the piano.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Eyes, too, are portals into undiscovered countries. What kind of person am I, anyway? Eyes. Eyes. Said Ford, the secret of movie making is people's faces, their eye expression, their movements. If I can't see the eyes, I've got nothing. We can read his eyes, feel what he's feeling.
Marshal, may I go with you? You are going to the services, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Two pairs of eyes at the same time. We feel their thoughts.
Oblige me, ma'am.
Thank you.
John Ford, for his fantasy, spent $250,000 inventing a tombstone in the desert and a camp town to support it. What's more, Ford invented Clementine, too, and he invented the actor. He all but invented Doc Holliday, an old man Clanton. He invented the battle. As for Wyatt, a friend observed that Ford himself was Wyatt the whole time he was in Monument Valley, even at dinner. Ford invented himself. He's a dead shot. Ringo. He's awesome.
Well, good luck to you, Mr.
Earp. Wyatt Earp.
Like many a Ford hero, he arrives, rights wrongs, and goes away. Like Lincoln, rights wrongs, goes away. Like Tom Joad, like the fugitive priest, like Ethan, and many another. Unlike Holiday, Wyatt never doubts his course.
You haven't taken it into your head to deliver us from all evil.
I hadn't thought of it quite like that, but ain't a bad idea.
Again, he's like Lincoln.
I may not know so much of law, Mr. Felder, but I know what's right and what's wrong.
And like Ringo.
Well, there's some things a man just can't run away from.
Like America herself at war, Wyatt has noble intentions and invokes law.
Got a warrant here for you and your sons. Charging the murder of James and Virgil Earp.
But he dresses all in black and puts on a badge just for 4 days, just to avenge murdered James.
Marshal, we want you to count us in on this. We ain't fighting men, but we'd sure like to help you out.
Thanks, Deacon, but this is strictly a family affair.
Like Ringo, Wyatt is duty-bound to the Wilderness Code, which Pa Clanton also follows, which World War II followed. Does Hamlet apply to Wyatt?
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them.
Is duty Wyatt's undiscovered country, which he dare not shirk? The weight of duty rams Wyatt in his guts. The bar, the line of lamps, ram into Wyatt, as though doom is his destiny. And threat lines up like feathers on an arrow. Wyatt embodies an urge to settle and an obligation to wander, like other heroes. Clementine's world offers an alternative to nightmare. Here, too, Wyatt follows in Lincoln's footsteps. Ford liked watching Henry Fonda dance, and how he walked, too. His incredible grace. Another thing remarkable in Clementine is how separate its two storylines are. The murder story, the Clementine story. No mention to her of dead brother James, nor any sign she knows about the battle, before or after. Any other movie would see her sobbing for their safety. Not here. War and peace never connect. They unfold in separate spheres. The separateness is clear the first time Wyatt sees Clementine. She's magic, sudden, a whole new world. His gaze makes the space between them seem infinite. A post separates them. He's in one sphere, inside the porch, above her. She's in a second sphere, outside. And there's a bar blocking her, like the post blocking him. The music tells us already, she's lost forever. Our movie's title was already a yearning, and yearning's all the stronger for being in different spheres. Here's yearning in body language. Her head movement rhymes his, ignites contortions. Sudden magic. It also struck Lincoln.
Hello, Mr. Lincoln. Abe?
Also with bar and separate sphere. Hugh Morgan is struck too. Also Sean Thornton. Alas, Wyatt on Black is not part of Clementine's new world, not yet anyway. Duty chains him to the old. All this yearning harshens Wyatt's nightmare, makes justice almost absurd. 9 people dead, cattle gone too. Wyatt's victory, like America's in war, is no cause for celebration. Only defeat would have been worse. The 2 editions we have of My Darling Clementine are both the work of Fox's studio chief, Darrell F. Zanuck, who edited and collaborated on all Ford's movies at 20th Century Fox. Said Ford, Darrell's a genius, and I don't use the word lightly. He actually was. He was head and shoulders above all other producers. Said Zanuck, John Ford is the best director in the history of motion pictures. His placement of the camera almost had the effect of making even good dialogue unnecessary. He painted a picture, in movement, in action, in still shots. He was a great pictorial artist. Where they differed, Zanuck wanted plot to move. Ford reveled in making it stop. Already in 1917, Ford paused to watch cowboys listening to a record in a silent film. For Ford, people are more interesting than what they're doing at a moment. He lets us feel them. My Darling Clementine at its best is a suite of plot stoppers. Zanuck cut maybe half an hour from Ford's rough cut, including lots of humor with Jane Darwell's Madam. Zanuck then had a preview, then cut 6 more minutes, and, because of the preview audience's reaction, reluctantly took out the goodbye handshake.
Well, goodbye, ma'am.
Goodbye.
And inserted the kiss. From the preview print, we miss scenes like this. But there's no reason to assume that everything in the preview print is closer to Ford. Zanuck made a mistake in the preview print, having Clementine arrive without Wyatt's music.
Thank you.
I'll prepare a room for you.
Thank you.
The music gives life to time, stretches their movements.
Thank you.
I'll prepare a room for you.
Thank you.
The tune is Wyatt's Yearning. He's still yearning upstairs, but in the preview print, Zanuck compounded his mistake by introducing Wyatt's tune for the first time with Holiday's Empty Room.
Oh, that's John with a mustache.
The music is Wyatt's yearning for Clementine, not hers for Holiday. The song is referred to often in the shooting script, always associated with Wyatt.
Ma'am, I sure like that name. Clementine.
Both of Fort's children liked what Zanuck did. Barbara Fort said, "My father was the second greatest editor who ever lived. Zanuck was the greatest." Even Fort admitted Zanuck was a great cutter, a great editor. Despite which, Fort was sour. It was no longer his picture. Despite which, he came back later and made 2 more movies with Zanuck. But even before Clementine, he had turned down $600,000 a year from Zanuck because he craved independence, even for a quarter as much money, and he got it.